Hello, everybody, and welcome to Late Night Unite. Kirk doobsnax Dubé, and our special guest tonight is IX Gaming's founder and CEO, David SB. How you holding up, David?
Hey, good. What's going on?
We're hanging in there. I'm excited that you're on. A lot of stuff happening in the next 2 weeks that you've kind of been the spearhead of, and we're going to get into that. But before we get too far into the weeds there, tell the folks at home a little bit about yourself. Just your background, maybe your professional life, your
Yeah.
esports life, and we'll follow those down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's going to be a long rabbit hole. 42 years of rabbit holes, probably. So we're going to try to keep it short. My name is David. I think a lot of you probably know me online. My gamer tag is DavidSB. I am the owner and CEO of IX Gaming. And let's see, what is there to say about kind of what I've been doing? I live over in the Bay Area, Silicon Valley, over in Cupertino, right by the Apple headquarters. Let's see. My daytime, full-time job is being a dad to a 7 to be 8-year-old son. His name is Joel. I think a lot of people in the gaming community might have seen me streaming with my son. And my love for video games and kind of how I got into all of this probably stems from my love for gaming. Like, I would say since I was 8, starting with the Nintendo Entertainment System or the Commodore 64.
There you go.
Don't want to date myself. Do you know about those systems?
I do indeed. I do
Yeah,
indeed.
yeah. And a couple of years ago, my son got really started playing video games, namely Minecraft, and wanted to just, find a platform for getting close to him, other than just biking and doing other things together. So got into the world of video games and happy to talk about it more later. But yeah, I started IS Gaming a few years ago. Happy to get into some of the story behind that later as well.
Well, what better than the now? So obviously you started playing some video games with your son to use that as a bonding
Right.
mechanism, something you're passionate about, of course. Um,
hmm
but what brought you from, hey, this is something a good hobby to have with my son, bonding experience, to I'm going to create an esports organization, start throwing some money, getting some teams together, stuff like that. What was like, yeah, what was the thought logic, or I guess the logic path in that transition?
Yeah, so that story probably starts back when I was in Korea. So I work over here in the tech industry. I've been at Google for about 10 years. For several years of that time, I was actually out in Seoul, South Korea. So I was working on the Asia Pacific business over there, working on YouTube and Google Search. And that's when I first got into a little bit of mobile gaming, actually.
Mm-hmm.
One of my coworkers invited me to a lunch, and I met this guy named Chief Pat. I'm not sure if you know of him, of Tribe Gaming.
I don't.
At the time, he had not started Tribe Gaming yet. He was a YouTuber making videos about Clash of Clans. And I had no idea what Clash of Clans was, and people were playing at work and putting together little after work groups. And I was like, oh, these gamers, like, they're these little mini celebrities. And at that time, I had absolutely no idea about esports other than the fact that people were pretending to be athletes and calling it sports while playing games on a screen. And I was chuckling at them, kind of in the back of my mind, and said, I don't know what that world's all about. So, interesting fact, about 20 years ago when I was in college, I was, I guess, quote unquote, a pro gamer for a very brief moment. I was playing this MMORPG called Final Fantasy 11,
Oh, I
and that
know it
is
well.
11, not 14.
I know it well. I
Yep.
know it well.
Yeah, and then they had a PvP mode and they had a world championship, and I was on the team that placed fourth in the world. So we went to LANs and did that. So
That's
that's
pretty.
a little something there.
Okay, so I can't let that just slide by. Absolutely not. 20 years ago, Final Fantasy 11, not with the game I honestly would have thought. I maybe would have thought maybe something like StarCraft or maybe even like World of Warcraft PvP at that point in time. So how did you find yourself in that competitive scene? Obviously, you enjoyed that aspect of the
Yeah.
game previous to competing in it officially. But how did that coalesce into like, yeah, I'm traveling to lands. We're number 4 in the world. How does that happen?
So I don't know. It's just an obsession with the game and the series and the storyline. So Final Fantasy 1 was probably one of my all-time favorites. So after skipping 8, 9, 10, I played 7 on the PlayStation, the one with Cloud and Aerith, the famous one. And then I was in college and decided I would try this thing called an MMORPG. And wow, I just jumped into that and I got stuck and addicted, and it held my college career off for at least a year or two. Yeah, it got bad. I was on day and night at stacks of pizza boxes this high in my room, and yeah, and it brought back kind of like the games that I liked when I was a lot younger. So in high school, we didn't have. God, I'm dating myself here, but we didn't have like the internet that many of you gamers out there have had growing up. So we would have those little CDs come in the mail from AOL and Netscape, and you would get 30 days of internet. Remember those?
Oh, I remember those. With
Yep.
the doo-doo, like login noises. Then finally,
Yes.
you've got mail. I know exactly where you're at. So
Yeah.
you're kind of gaming day and night. Whatever ramifications that had in your college career, I'm not here to judge. We're not going to talk about that. We are going to talk about you getting fourth at Worlds, though. Was it like at your school? Was it a team through the school? Was it a team in the area? Like, how did you just get discovered and kind of meet up with all what ended up being your team?
So Square Enix announced it all of a sudden that they would have a world event in Santa Monica. So they had a tournament. I signed up for it with a few of my Link Shell or clan members that I was playing with. And it was mostly, I think most of the servers were either North American or Japanese, and we were all on the same server. And we would come together and play against each other in the PvP mode. And we just competed, just like anybody here in Pokemon Unite. Just, put a team together, and when we announced Worlds, compete for it and see how you get. And we got far.
There you go. Okay, last question about Final Fantasy 11. Then we'll drop it and we'll shift gears back to IX Gaming. What class did you choose? What class and race?
So my name in game was Tantalus. I'm not sure if that rings any bells.
Mm-mm.
So Tantalus Half-Elven, or Tanis, as he went by, was a half-elven character from the Dragonlance series, which really got me into the whole sci-fi fantasy world when I was in high school. And then my character obviously was, naturally an elven. And I played several things. I played Ranger, ranged attack with a bow and arrow. I also played, which is kind of like an attacker in Unite, just a lot of damage from the back. Also played Summoner, which, in the Final Fantasy series, you can cast spells that summon like the Fire Spirit or the Earth Titan or Shiva with ice, and yeah, they would come down and do damage.
So you're the bot lane attacker. Is that what I'm hearing?
Pretty much, yeah.
All right.
Bot lane attacker.
Fair enough. Like I said, we had to tie it back to Unite. It is late night Unite. However,
it is.
We'll talk about when we can. Okay, switching back to IX Gaming. So you had kind of found your way into the competitive scene. Mm-hmm. So maybe pulled on the heartstrings as you're seeing the esports, and as you said, at that time, what you understood as people that called themselves athletes. And I think there's a pretty strong argument that you can make that within the athletic realm, they are in some cases for sure. But anyways, and then you decided like, okay, I don't really know much about this world, but it's scratching an itch for you, and you had to find out about it.
Yeah, exactly. So this guy named Chief Pat, he was playing Clash of Clans, and Supercell, the gaming company that was innovating around mobile, was one of the companies that we were working with together at Google. So, when they came out with something called Clash Royale, which was, a mobile card kind of game where, I think Clash Royale is pretty well known out there. Mm-hmm. I started playing it, was instantly addicted, started to, I feel that obstacle when you're climbing a ranked ladder of sorts or trying to get better at a game, which I haven't played any games really for almost a good 20 years or 15 years at that point. And so back in the day, we used to buy guidebooks or look at magazines, Nintendo Power.
The Prima strategy guides.
Mm-hmm. I know. And you would read it and you would apply the tips. or we would call this Nintendo Power Hotline, which I would get in so much trouble for calling from California to Redmond, Washington. And you would talk to someone live. They would give you tips and tricks. But I didn't have to do that anymore because now I have the internet. So I would look. That was ironic because I was working for YouTube, or the other hats right there, the YouTube. But I never really watched YouTube. So then I started watching YouTubers to get tips and tricks on the game.
Mm-hmm.
And found content creators like Orange Juice or Chief Pat again, and like, wow, there's like a lot of videos on video games. And as you started watching YouTube, you started seeing, oh, there's competitive gaming all of a sudden now for mobile gaming. But more than that, YouTube helped me connect to a community of sorts, of creators, the audience, and I found that the content wasn't like static in a book anymore. It was dynamic. It was coming out every day.
Mm-hmm.
People were sharing them on social media. They would also create these communities within the game, so in-game clubs. And I was living in Korea at the time, so I joined a club, found the top clubs in the rankings, and tried to get in, applying these tips and tricks to get better and putting my score up. And then we started talking to each other in the game and then outside in different chat rooms. I didn't know what Discord was at the time. And then I made some connections to younger players at the time who found out that, I was an older trusted adult who, had a job and, could talk to them about career advice, could talk to them about just life.
Mm-hmm.
We would always, shoot the, crap about other things other than the game itself. And as I found that I was having a positive impact on some of these younger gamers, I thought to myself, wow, like there's this huge opportunity to make connections to people in this online gaming esports kind of thing. And I decided, okay. And I put that away in the back of my head. And then when Supercell came out with their next game, which was Brawl Stars, and I started getting into that. So our club moved over. A lot of our members moved over from here to there. And as I was playing Brawl Stars, and I moved back to the US at the time and created new clubs there, I started learning little things like, for example, what Discord was.
Sure.
This one person asked me if I wanted to voice chat in a game, and I thought that, okay, gee, that's awkward. And I still remember the first time I did it, I was so scared and nervous. I downloaded this app, I created this thing, and this guy calls me and like, hey, and I still remember like, what do I call you? Like, Jewel? Like his name was Jul. And that was just weird. Like a couple years ago, if I called you doobsnax, like I would feel awkward for the rest of the night.
Sure. Yeah. That's what's kind of
Right.
mad, right? Is the irony, right? People look at me like I'm crazy when I was like, yeah, I had my best friend's phone number memorized, and I'd call him on the phone, and I'd wait, and normally his parents would answer, and I'd be like, "Hi, Mrs. Widener, it's Kirk Dubé.
Yeah.
Can I speak to Tony, please?" And people are like, "You just called people like whenever," and the irony is now people are like, kind of calling people, they're using a different mechanism, but it's still like the first time you do it, it's still kind of off-putting and weird, right? Because everybody's been so
Yeah.
separated from that, I think.
It is. And just calling someone by their in-game name was just so awkward. Like in the chat right now, I see like RT Black CH and like Junkie GS, Ginny Noda. Like I'd be like, oh, what's up, Junkie? Hello, RT Black, Ginny Noda. Like that's just weird for me to call someone by that. I mean, imagine what it's like meeting them in real life and like waving across the wall, which I kind of did across the parking lot, and saying, "Hey, Moonlight," like.
Exactly.
And then people listen, they're like, who is this guy?
Exactly.
But yeah, I connected with these people who had no idea. Like I never saw their face. I was starting to talk to them. Before I knew it, I mean, we were speaking and playing with each other regularly to the extent that I was, as much as I hated admitting to myself at that point, like, they were friends. We had like created a relationship, a friendship. And the crazy thing about like a friendship online, that idea just was like, yeah, like I had AOL chat rooms in the day and we met new people. But right now, yeah, AOL chat,
Jeez.
the instant messenger day.
Oh my lord.
I'm bringing it all back, right?
God, It's rushing over me like a tidal wave, but like not in a good way. Not in a
Yeah,
good way. Good lord, those things were cesspools.
exactly.
Cesspools. Holy smokes! At least you can cultivate your audience a little bit stronger on Discord than you did on, because that was a mess. Anyways, continue. Continue.
Yeah, no, you definitely cultivate your audience, and that's like the whole point of servers. And I thought that was neat. I got into a server all of a sudden. Someone invited me, and there were a ton of very good ranked Brawl Stars players, and I started getting closer to them. And I think at that point, it was back in 2019, and I was still a casual player in Brawl Stars, and I had met some not kind of well-known people in the community. Again, just playing ranked is just like being part of any game squad. And I still remember, I thought, wow, like this was a chance for me to connect to a lot of other people. And one common theme that really resonated over and over again with people that I spoke to in the gaming community was mental health. And so I personally have been that's been one of the big life passion projects I've been working on. So for full disclosure here, and I'm happy to go into it further, but um, I struggle with certain mental health conditions that I've had to cope with for a good amount of my lifetime. I am what people might label as ADHD, OCD, um, anxiety, bipolar, on the autism spectrum. There are things that, medically that I have been working with for a long time. And my experience has helped me connect to a lot of these people who are having day to day struggles. And maybe wasn't even aware that mental health was even a thing, which is pretty common, I think, around the world. And I thought that this was a great way to connect to the community and kind of give them and not just connect one to one, but how do I scale that to one to many? So I saw this thing called Twitch, and it was kind of cool because people were streaming. So I thought maybe this is a way to connect to people. And I one of my superpowers is creativity and storytelling. So what I did was I started a stream where I would play Brawl Stars, the game, and I would, often play with some of these people that were known in the community. But I always had a plan. I would listen to some Twitch people that would teach you how to do a good stream, and they would say have like an itinerary or a schedule or an agenda. I was like, okay, I can do that, and I centered the theme in conversations each time, and I prepared around a topic. So sometimes it was around, sometimes it was more specific on my mental health experiences, or sometimes it was about something that I learned at work about the awareness of different personality types and how to speak with each other and understand what the differences are, the diversity in people. We would talk about certain psychological concepts that I would learn in school or I would learn at work, and how can I bring some of that educational content to all these gamers who may not have access day to day to the same kind of knowledge or training that I have, like at work, and I'm lucky to have because I have a nice job.
Mm-hmm.
So I was continuing to do that, and little by little, all these like people would come into the stream, and they were people that uh, were were very well known streamers, or they were esports pros, and eventually, we said, let's create a little org. I guess it's not going to be for esports, but let's create a little org, and do a nonprofit around um, connecting to young gamers and bringing a little bit of more knowledge or positivity to their lives. And we didn't know what the concept was, but it was going to be something about inclusion. And the reason it impacted me a lot was not only because I'm learning about diversity, equity, and inclusion at work, but also my son at the time was 4 years old, and he started just getting into gaming and playing. We were worried whether or not he was also going to have um, you know coping opportunities in his life around things like ADHD or autism or bipolar, and whether or not the world is different now than it was when I was growing up, obviously. But I think it's just as easily possible for someone to feel like they're different from the rest of the world and
Mm-hmm.
feel not included for that reason. I definitely grew up feeling kind of like an outcast for many reasons. I was like, how can I make this next world for my son a little bit better tomorrow than it is today. So I was like, maybe I can connect through gamers and do this because I like gaming. It's kind of fun. And I seem to have an impact on a lot of these gamers. So we created, I was like, okay, I created a Discord server, called it like, I don't know, let's call it Inclusion Esports or something. We put some rough name on it. We're like, we can fiddle around with it later. And then another esports team in Brawl Stars came up to me and asked me, hey, would you be willing to sponsor um, their up and rising pro team? And I think word got out that I'm an older guy that's got some money that I've been willing to put in the community. I was sponsoring a couple of events, and I would do little, I would go into other streamers and give out a lot of gifted subs and things. So, they came to me. They think I'm a source of funding, and they said, okay. And I said, let's talk about it. And we thought maybe there was an opportunity to use esports as a vehicle or one of the strategies to take our organization's mission and reach a lot more people. Because casual gaming is one thing, but once you go have an esports awareness, a lot more people in the community will know of you. And that gives me a stage to reach them. So their club or team was called Nine Circles. It was based off, I think, it was not I always thought the Nine Circles of Inferno, Dante's Inferno, but that wasn't it. It was something about like the circle being like 9 being the most powerful number in numerology or something like that. But I wanted to keep our initial vision to the name. So the Roman numeral for 9 was IX. So I thought to myself, we have the I from inclusion. Like, what can we do around the like IX meaning? And we created a brand story about it, where our mission for this org we're going to create is to help others to grow. How can we bring joyful moments into others? So so the whole concept of IX, even though it is based off the Roman numeral, we're not 9 gaming or X gaming. The I stands for you, me, I. And then the X is a variable. It can be whatever you want it to be. You can be whoever you feel like. You can be your 100% self. So that's what the IX stands for. And we created IX Gaming. So we had So we started doing all kinds of fun things around the team. We got awareness. In 2019, at the end of the year, our team went to we won the North American championships, went to Worlds. At that time, another sponsor offered a lot of money for the team, so we let the team go, and they competed at Worlds under the name of Tribe Gaming, so cheap.org. But yeah, I could say that our team went to Worlds in 2019, and then 2020 and 2021, we continued to play in Brawl Stars, and we had some learnings, to say the least, about esports, and yeah. That's the esports origin story in a nutshell. I think I've been speaking a lot, dude.
No, that's absolutely amazing. I'm not convinced that there's a lot of people that knew that about IX Gaming, and the only reason I knew the fringes of that story were because we were getting ready to have this conversation. I didn't want to go in completely flat and ignorant on my own here, but that is just an absolutely wonderful story, and the fact that you've attributed a vision, that's larger than esports or larger than the traditional trajectory of when somebody says, "I want to start an esports org." They're probably seeing dollar signs. They're probably seeing, yeah, you know what I mean? That's like what they're trying to strive to. But the fact that yours is rooting at a different mission, and I can't imagine that there's that many out there that have taken that approach, really means it's lending itself to something special. And I mean, for me, having this conversation with you, and of course the impact you're having on the Pokemon Unite community, and we'll touch on that in a bit here. It's amazing. It's amazing to hear and discuss. I'm kind of looking at the page here. Obviously, you have Brawl Stars. I know you have Pokemon Unite. Are there any other games that IX Gaming has their hand in right now that you all are, have some folks competing in?
Mm-hmm. No. So that's it. We've withdrawn from the professional scene in Brawl Stars last year. I think we were kind of getting really big, and we made a couple of mistakes along the way as we were growing and we had more people involved. We had an outside investor, partner of mine, who also in the beginning shared. I mean, he still does. He shared the same vision, and I think at a certain point during those 2 seasons, we got greedy and we started like day to day. You start speaking with pros and all these things, and all of a sudden you become an org in your head. And then when you become, and that comes with the pitfall of starting to think, oh, like I want to win worlds, I want to get big. It's never about making money because orgs don't really make. And we could talk about, I'm happy to answer these questions about starting an org and things if anyone's interested, but orgs don't really make money at the beginning. So I would say like 90% of all orgs probably don't even make money for the first 3 to 5 years, if any at all. So there's different revenue models around it. I've talked to people here in the Valley, some venture capital, and they always say like your main sources of revenue are never going to come from winning tournaments. So even if your contracts, and a lot of typical standard contracts in a lot of mobile gaming is, they give you a salary, then there's an agreement that X percent, usually around 20% of their earnings, then go back to the org. That 20% is nowhere near what's going to cover the cost of a salary of a player.
Sure.
Most orgs will try to make money later by getting their brand out there, hiring streamers and content creators, getting the awareness, getting views, viewership, and then using that viewership then to sell to sponsors like Logitech or another company. And then, but to do that, it's a lot of effort. And if you take a small mobile game like Brawl Stars or it's hard to get that reach unless you're like the number one company and you're on multiple games. So to answer your question, we did not go to multiple games. I try to stick with the games that I was playing just because it helped me to stay connected. And it was more than an org owner, just, as someone in the community. And whenever I find an opportunity to kind of, again, I'm older, I have a good job, so I have some money left aside for my hobbies. And if I can bring that money to do things like run an event or even do little things like, pay my players a little bit of a salary, get them gift cards to max out their accounts. I'm happy to do so. And yeah, so Brawl Stars, when that season kind of ended last year, and we kind of took a step back and we're like, we lost our way. We're not we're losing our way in the mission. Esports isn't everything. How do we kind of get back to our grassroots mission? And we thought about like, can we expand to other games? And at that time, my son had started, really getting into Pokemon. So he made the shift from Minecraft. He still loves it, but to Pokemon in general. Man, he was talking about things like, I don't know, Snorleons and like, I don't know, like
Snorleons,
just all these
folks,
names, Snorleons and Umbreons and evolutions. And I was like, nah, it's evolution. He's like, no, it's an evolution. It's like, I have no idea what you're talking about, Joel. And he would just be reading books. He would know all the stats and types, and I had no idea what he was talking about. And lo and behold, a mobile game for Pokemon finally was announced. I was like, oh, it's an advanced strategy game. Kind of looks like a 5-player game instead of a 3-player game, but let's give it a shot. So I got my iPad out, this big, clunky, 13-inch iPad, and I downloaded the game. I mean, he downloaded it on the Switch, and I wanted to try to play, so I downloaded it on mobile when the release came out. And yeah, I started getting into it. This time I knew Discord, I knew this, and I knew that. And wow, like I think I solo queued and played only with like 2 or 3 people that came over from Brawl Stars to here. I think one of them is actually in the chat here, Koa or Coffee. Mango there. Hey, it's good to see you. Mango's one of the VPs of IX Gaming here. It's been with me for almost the beginning. Anyway, they so we came in. I was like, okay. It was another Discord server with like 3 people on there that Nate had created, and I'm really good at, for some reason, I'm really good at building communities and bringing people. Because what I did, I suddenly started like meeting people randomly on Ladder, and I'll play with them, and then I would get into chat with them. I'd invite some of them over, and then I gave them our Discord IDs, and suddenly suddenly Nate and Coffee were like, wait, why are there like 30 people in our Discord server that we've never met before? And I was like, you know what? Let's do something here and bring IX here and just make it like a community. So I we had a bunch of people that loved playing with each other every day. I noticed one thing, by the way, they're a lot older than they were in Brawl Stars. I was surprised when there was a 30-something-year-old or two of them. There's like, and most of the people I played with are in their 20s, so that was a big shift. But as we started playing and talking to each other every day, um, especially because Pokemon, to play well, you need voice chats and voice comms.
Mm-hmm.
So we were on and we just bonded. I created, I was like, hey, let's do something fun. Let's all create like IX in your name. And then I'll give you gift cards to change your names. And let's like create like a squad and raise awareness around that. I sent them all merch for Christmas, their own hoodies and jerseys. And I'm happy, doobsnax, if you want to, I'm happy to send you one as well. So I'll make sure to hit you up for this event.
Buddy, I got a clean door behind me. I can pin that right up. Pin that
Let's
right
do
up.
it. Yeah, this is the OG one here, but I've got like the new series. Oh, we'll talk about that later. Yeah, so yeah, we did that, and then we started, becoming a little bit of a squad, and then I don't know how, like Typesol, I still don't know how to pronounce his name. I call him Ty. He reached out to me in December and said, "Hey, will you be willing to sponsor a team?" This is before Worlds was announced, and I was like, I don't know. Let me see. Like, we don't really do esports anymore. I'm trying to like do this around community, but then I remembered like strategically, like this is another big, great audience.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to reach this audience and try to bring them around our original mission, again, to make someone else's tomorrow a little bit better than today, maybe we dabble in it a little bit and see if that'll help us, connect to the community. So, I'd spoken with Slash, another, he's on Ascendance now, former player on IX Gaming and Brawl Stars, went to Worlds in 2019. So he was also talking about teams. Ty was talking about teams. But Ty, Elke, the two of them came and said, hey, let's, we really, we're not asking for a lot. And so, I, just to give you an idea of how much a lot is, I'm a single income earner. I'm doing this out of my own pocket. I don't have like money set aside for it. So just that might give you an idea of what a little and a lot might be. But, they asked me for something that I thought was kind of reasonable. It's an expensive hobby, but maybe it'll be fun to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Gave it a shot, and then Worlds was announced, and this team became just, really close group of friends. And then we went through, and the thing with esports is when roster changes start happening,
Attrition is brutal. Attrition is brutal.
And I thought it was bad with 3, but you get to 5 people with specific roles and lane responsibilities. And now all of a sudden when roster changes happen, because a bunch happened in our team, all of a sudden my mindset managing this team day to day shifted from the original mission once again and started thinking about, okay, then how much will it cost to get, this person and this person so that you guys can actually be a team? So we went through a bunch of roster mania changes, even up till like recently. And then teams changed a little bit. And now we have a team that just qualified for the next finals. So it's Elke, Ty, OG. We have Mitzelin, who joined us as jungle for this tournament. And then we have Junkie, who is our support.
I love it, love it, love it. And I'm glad you brought that up because that's what I wanted to touch on. You guys did recover from the February finals, falling just a bit short there, and being able to punch your ticket. If you look through your bracket run, I mean, there's some real deal teams in there that IX Gaming had to work through, and you have to be happy with, one, their performance, 2, how this team that just kind of came together were able to coalesce and be successful, and 3. Take some really crucial wins. And if we've seen anything from the February finals, it's once you're in the top 16, there's some magic that can happen. Of course, there's Gaming Gladiators up there, but you look at Gengar's Goons, who's been a team forever and hasn't really found the opportunity to really punch through. But all of a sudden, they found themselves in the top 4, and they're the ones that are free riding into the March finals. So you got to think that IX Gaming really has an opportunity here going into 2 weekends from now.
So hold on, Gaming Gladiators and Gengar's Goons, they're not the same team?
Correct. Yeah.
I thought that GG was the same team. team.
Nope,
And
they both tag themselves with GG, but now it's
mm,
Gaming Gladiators, which is old TTV, and then Gengar's Goons, who is just
mhm.
been their team name for quite some time. But you've kind of
What's Team TTV? Are they any good?
never heard of them.
Yeah, yeah. Gaming Gladiators, Gengar's Skins. I don't know. I haven't heard of any of those teams.
Well, I'll tell you what, IX Game is coming for them. Whether you're Gengar's Goons or Gaming Gladiators, if you got GGs in your name, IX Gaming, you
Yeah.
heard it here first, is trying to serve you some of those. Um, but all that to say,
Sorry, Indy. Sorry, Goof. I'm just trying to troll here.
you've got to be excited about how the team performed and what they're doing. You know what
Yeah,
they have the potential to do 2 weekends from now.
absolutely. Just like I said, better tomorrow than today. I mean, our motto in our team when we started was, as we recruited people and started getting together, was we all wanted to believe that, you know, if you take the IX core value of growth and then you take it to esports, how can we create a team where we can foster a culture? And I've been saying this over and over again to our team: how do like culture will eat strategy for breakfast in the long run every day. I think we've seen it at TTV, right? Like they have such a strong culture on that team because they've been playing together forever, and that culture makes it easy to execute whatever strategy or tactic they want to do, and it shows, because it helps you untilt, it helps you to get through difficult situations, it helps you to be vulnerable to each other so you can take risks and try different things. Literally, this 1 second difference that it takes when someone listens to a shot or hesitates and doesn't trust it and questions it can actually, and it's weird, it snowballs, can actually lead to whether that plan works or fails. And if you don't have the culture to trust and be vulnerable and try things, then that play, whether it's like, oh, that's a spy man push here or something in response, if it fails, then it snowballs the other way, and they'd be like, see, we shouldn't have done that. Whereas, actually, if everybody had come, then we would have actually known whether it worked or not, if that makes any sense.
No, that makes a lot of
So,
sense. That
yeah.
makes a lot of
So,
sense.
how do you create a culture of vulnerability and trust and growth? And so, our goal in February was, hey, let's put together a team. Our goal is going to be that we do better in March than we do in February. So when we lost in February, it sucked. It hurt like any loss. And those are a long 3-4 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh man, those 3 weeks, 4 weeks suck. So yeah, like can you imagine after you lose the next day being like, hey guys, let's go play ladder, you know?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. But
But
we did better this month, and it just feels so good.
I mean, that's the indication of the culture, though, right? Being able to bounce back and use that as a springboard as opposed to a hurdle, you know, and use that to launch, propel yourself forward. And I think that comes a lot to the personality of the game too. I mean, I was actually playing Ascendance's coach. Excellent. I got to play in a game with him, and obviously he's exceptional player, great tank player. And I was like, look, I'm going brain off mode, and whatever you say, I'm just to the nines. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to even think about it. And we ended up doing pretty good because we were just in a group of people, and we all just kind of, obviously there weren't any stakes, right? You know, it was just ladder play,
Right.
5Q ladder play. But just the fact that everybody was just like real quick, who's calling the shots? Excellent's like, oh, I'm calling the shots. And everybody's so, okay, brain off, whatever Excellent says, we're all in. No matter what we think of the call in the moment, we're following through. And we're able to see success just in, crossing that little bridge and just saying, okay, for this rank ladder climb, we're just going to throw our faith in Excellent and couldn't have chosen a better person. But just to say it's kind of a small microcosm of exactly the culture that you're talking about, is being able to throw your faith and then, have the success to back it up. And of course the skill sets that's build on each other as well.
Yeah, there's so much in team chemistry that boils down to that kind of trust, and like you have to trust. Like we talk about that in sports or anywhere so much, but yeah, that trust really pays off. I mean, it's not a 1+1+1+1+1=5 game. Like when you actually put 1+1+1+1+1, it becomes greater than 5. Yeah, the sum is greater than or the whole is the greater than the sum of the whole, or sum of, what I'm getting at.
I know exactly what you're getting.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's kind of what makes TTV, aka Gaming Gladiator, so dangerous, is because not only do they have the culture portion, they have the individual skill set, and that makes a mean team. And you look at some other squads. you have to. Again, I'm going to keep bringing up Gengar's Goons because they've kind of been toiling in you know, the kind of like, you know, top 6, top 4, and haven't really cashed in that big win. So when you're looking at the February finals and they slid in at whatever 14th or 15th seed, you know, myself included, Zoinks included, were like, yeah, we just don't really see it happening for them here. Obviously, we were wrong because they were able to prove that you know, their sum is greater than their individual parts. You know, so
Right.
that's how it worked out. And that's
Yeah.
maybe individually less skilled, but as a group, they had it. Culture beats strategy, or eat strategy for breakfast,
Yeah.
as you said.
Exactly. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. And you know, at the end of the day, it's because the gamers that play were not machines. Although some might seem like machines, and you know, usually never speak, you know, hardly ever speak, and just kind of mechanically are really good. Call outs to, you know, our top laner OG, um, who's known for never speaking. I mean, he did last in the last qualifiers, but yeah, like it's. I think at the end of the day, we're human beings, and in order for us to trust, and this was our hypothesis, is that if you know someone else, if you see their face behind the anonymity of gaming, if you know who they are as a person behind their gamer tag, then it's harder for you to hate somebody. And you know, there's a lot of flaming in a lot of games, and I mean, even within teams, and that can create tilt. But you know, how do you create a culture that people recognize that the other person that's playing with me, whether they're on the other side of the VC or whether they're inside a chat, you know, this actual human being. And if you make them feel bad after a game, it, for most people, it doesn't really help them play better.
Sure.
And for a team, and as a pro team, you have one objective really, is you want to win, right? So you got to play better. So how do you create that culture? And I think that's important for every org team that's out there in Unite, or any video game that will watch this tonight, is that uh, like, people first, people first, people first. You'd be amazed how much of an impact focusing on the people rather than the game, especially as an owner or coach, can have.
Absolutely, without a doubt. I think we've successfully dissected IX Gaming for the folks at home to really give them a firm understanding of where you're coming from, what the team's mission is, and of course, their path forward as they try and qualify for the World Championships in August. If I can switch gears, but still in the
Yeah.
compassionate vein that we've been in, let's talk about this initiative that you started for Unite for Ukraine, which you've gotten a lot of top players in the community, a lot of buy-in, a lot of great support from content creators as well. You know, Spraggles,
Mhm.
Jeff Hoagland on that side. As well as, you know, I think Indy's in the mix, Goof's in the mix. You know, Unite Mike's is going to be doing the draft day, which we'll talk about. But how did this idea kind of come together, and how did you bring it to life? Because as you mentioned, you're really good at getting people together once you have that vision. But when did that pop in your head, and when did you decide, hey, I need to execute on that?
Yeah. So the main thing that kind of triggered this thought, um, to be completely vulnerable here, was when roster mania started happening again. I found myself again, kind of coming back to that esports mentality again, as the quote unquote evil org owner mindset, which happens, and away from our mission. And the thing was, I caught myself this time because it happened time and time again. And you know, I have accountability partners here in the org, Mango here being one of them, who keep me on track and say, you know, back to the mission, back to the mission. And when I thought of our mission and what we want to do, I was like, you know, what in this, how can we give back and do some good through the connections in the community we've built? And boom, like, I was just talking about the recent affairs and whatnot with my family, and hey, like, how might we help? Like, that's the number one question that I came up with, and I was going to make a personal donation of my own, and then I realized, wow, like, a lot more people actually care about this, and we're talking about this in our one-off chats. I said, why don't we come together? Why don't we team up? Why don't we unite? And yeah, like, so give it a shot. Let's do it. And I said, like, what's the worst that can happen? I ran the idea by my team and they loved it. They said, let's do it. I popped a question. I asked over in I think it was in the Floatstone server, the Discord server, and
Yeah, I think it was.
yeah, server owner, I believe it was Sanji, or was he? Yeah, he said 100%. And a lot of all these people, like Indy, immediately said yes. And then he reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'll create a server. Let's do it." I ran the idea by the folks over at AOS Frontier. They loved it, and I said, "Wow, like I don't remember when so many people, like, all together in an instant, would come together, start sending me DMs and be like, yeah, let's do it. I'll contribute. How can I make a donation?" Like, there's an older player base there. They have jobs. I guess they have money and maybe a little bit more mature and want to do something for good. And we're like, okay, let's do it. I mean, like any grassroots efforts, you get all this momentum. And by the way, like, you were one of the first people also to respond. So thank you. It was amazing to have like people that are well known here, like you and Indy. I think Jeff Hoagland, like Indy reached out to him immediately. Yes, like on our Twitter when we posted it, like people that I would never imagine talking to, like Spraggles, just boom, message. I would love to help. So we were just astounded by how much great response we got from this entire community. And we ran with it, and we're gonna run with it for this event.
It's you kind of keep posting in the, obviously I'm in the Discord as we're trying to plan this thing out, and I keep love that you're like, we're gonna push forward at a mile a minute, we're gonna break some stuff, we're gonna figure out and have a good time with it, which, as you know, Zoinks and we're trying to plan out the draft day that'll be happening this Sunday. We've got a billion ideas. We're kind of running through our concerns if we're going to be able to execute, but at the end of the day, it's like, we're going to execute it well enough, and if it's not perfect, that's fine, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and there's going to be a lot of fun people involved, and it's going to be just a great opportunity to kind of stretch this fundraising effort from one weekend to two. It's a great way to do that, and a great way to grow the excitement for the 27th, which will be right on the heels of the March finals as well. So the hype for Pokemon Unite will be very high that weekend.
Exactly. And the format, I think, is going to be what's really cool, because it's not just going to be your traditional teams, already formed teams like the ones you're familiar with, like Gaming Gladiators, playing against each other. But the format, I think, is what's really kind of going to be interesting. If we want to connect to a lot of people and make this fun for people, how can we make like an exhibition style? And that's part of the hook here. And so we're gonna do for the viewers out there, what we're thinking of and what we're planning here with Unite Mics is doing a draft day, kind of like a pro sports style, where there's an NFL draft day or an NBA draft day. The general managers of the team have 2 minutes on the clock, and from the players available in the pool, someone goes up and says, for the first pick, I don't know, team A drafts Indy Bear, right? So, and then that person's on your team, and then the next minute, and there's definitely, like, if you've done any kind of fantasy football, I'm not sure if you've ever done that. There is a drafting strategy, like, who would you pick first? Yeah. And the GMs will actually have like a list of the players and all their information. Like, we're collecting it we've got a pool of over 100 players right now. We've got their media. They've uploaded media of some of their screenshots and killer plays, or some interesting photo of their pet, or some lifestyle pic. They've written little paragraphs on, why they should be selected. I saw a really funny response yesterday. I was talking to Rin about it. I was going down through all the essay responses, and there was one line there, and someone responded to the question, "Why should we select you?" Just answered Rin. So I looked up who submitted that on, and Rin started laughing. It was like, yeah, that was him. So there's a wide variety of well-known personalities and great players on this list, and it's going to be fun to see who gets picked, what the strategy is to create those teams of 5, and then not this Sunday, but next Sunday, they're gonna face off in a double elimination tournament cast by Jeff Hoagland, Spraggles, and I think Kendo and Kanashi might be, helping there as well if we can get the schedule worked out. But yeah, it should be fun. And you know what? Like I said, for this Sunday, we'll figure it out. I mean, who cares if once we don't have the perfect production or the videos behind it? Like, we'll try to throw music on there. We'll try to talk it through. Goof's going to be there as a guest caster for you all to kind of give the expert analysis, consult with the GMs and say, no, you shouldn't pick this person. You should pick this person. No, I think we want to see Toon and Lutano play against each other. Or it'll be fun.
Do a little quality control. Make sure we don't end up with just the teams being rebuilt kind of in an ad hoc fashion. But again, Swing said I've just been kind of messaging back and forth. Timer on the clock, and we're actually, I know the official draft is going to start at 1 p.m. Eastern, but Zoinks and I are actually going to go on an hour early and just talk about theoretical draft strategies. Somebody that might be, hey, what's your sleeper pick? Who might you be able to get later in the draft that's just an absolute flamethrower of a player, and just really do kind of that ESPN pre-draft day kind of, shoot the moon analysis type stuff. And of course there's going to be a lot of armchair quarterbacking, obviously, but it's just there for fun, there to have some discussion, maybe get some of the GM's brain juices moving, oh, maybe I didn't consider that, and we'll see if we can influence from the desk a little bit how this thing shakes out.
It'll be fun. I got a question for you, by the way, doobsnax. If you don't mind me flipping the hot seat here, but first round, first pick, you're the GM. You've got 20 seconds.
First round, first pick, I'm the GM. It's really hard to not go with somebody like Overlord in the top lane, who's absolutely cracked on the sticks with Lucario. But I also really, I've watched so much Toon, and they take over a game so quickly. But there's so many good junglers out there. 20 seconds. It's harder to get a top laner.
You want a top laner? You want a jungler?
I think it is. I think it is. Actually, I just don't think the pool is as deep as top lane. I'm going Overlord. Overlord top lane.
All right. Overlord 98. So someone can clip that in the audience and share that with Overlord, as well as the other top laners in the pro scene. That would be appreciated.
Look, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I just accidentally adjusted my hat, and there was so much pit sweat under my left arm because of the nervousness that you just put me through. It just flash flooded out of me. I'm like, pool, hearts. Okay, flip back on you, David. First pick, first team, first pick. Nobody's off the board. 20 seconds. Who you going for?
Yeah, I'm going with OG.
OG, there a top laner as well, though. Top laner
top laner, and I've got loyalty to my team members as well. And no, so that's what I naturally thought was the top laners would be a difficult position to fill, because we needed a top laner a couple of weeks back when we had a little bit of the roster change, and Red Love and OG I think came over to our team, and then I think we had to figure out some roles overlaps and whatnot, but we kept OG with our team. It was a big difference maker. I think that's a lane that doesn't have as much of a depth of a pool as the others. But what's interesting is that I looked at the sign-up breakdown earlier. There's a lot of people available for a lot of the lanes. It's almost much more even than I thought. So supports, there were 150 people who signed up, I think. 46 stated that they would play support as their preferred role. So you never find supports out there.
The pool is the pool is deep for Eldegoss. I mean, you're even you're a hybrid attacker if you're playing Eldegoss or Hoopa in anyways, right? So you can still get in the click A a whole bunch and get your damage in. David, I don't want to belabor any points here, but any just last thoughts for Unite for Ukraine, IX Gaming, your personal path forward, or anything that we can help you raise your platform. Obviously, I think I've made it more than clear in our DMs that Unite Mics is here to help prop up you and IX Gaming's mission. So in any way, shape, or form that you want to get some information out there, I'm just going to open the floor. It's completely yours. Take it away.
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for, I think grassroots creators, events, players, everything that we're doing here in the Unite community fulfills the mission of people having chances to get together and have a good time gaming together. And I really believe that right now, or even 5 years from now, 10 years from now, gaming is not just going to be gaming. Gaming is the platform, a social platform, and especially with metaverse and everything coming, and that just gives every one of us gamers more of a responsibility to do good and give back. We've talked about IRL giving back, and making the world a better place. I think non-IRL is now IRL. I think. So here in the Pokemon Unite community, like I've already seen glimpses of just everybody wanting to do something more than the game itself. I mean, the game name is Pokemon Unite, right? So let's not leave it at just Unite for Ukraine. I think this is a great opportunity for us to learn and even get faster about coming together and doing great things. Like I wouldn't be surprised if all of us can get together again soon and do Unite for something else and Unite for something else. I don't know, Unite for mental health, Unite for women, Unite for Blacks, Unite for children, Unite for whatever cause there is. Man, the sky's the limit on what we can do together.
Mm-hmm.
And here's just how can we make tomorrow better than today? A, recognize we're all people. B, be vulnerable and trust. And C, like be okay with making a mistake today, because that's how we're going to learn and we're going to get better. So don't be hard on yourself. A little bit more love, and unite.
Unite. Incredibly well said, David, and a great note for us to kind of button this up on. Just for my few things, of course, thank you so much for joining me. I know we had planned to do this a little bit further out, but then I kind of thought that this kind of was more of a strike while the iron's hot. Let's keep that momentum that you discussed moving forward. It's for a great cause. So thank you for shifting around your schedule and making this work on behalf of Late Night Unite and Unite Mics as well.
Thank you for keeping the grind up here. I just love all that you're doing for the community. So thank you as well.
Well, I appreciate that. And Unite Mics is nothing without my partner in crime, or partner in commentary, of course, which is Zoinks, who does the podcast Overdunk, which is a great team-based interview podcast. And I believe they're actually going to have IX Gaming here in the following week. So excited for that, to keep that train moving as well. And lastly, click all the buttons, all the stuff. We're not putting out those crazy thumbnails with the hype face and all that stuff. I'm not that flashy about that sort of stuff. But if you do like what we're doing at Unite Mics, please subscribe on YouTube, whatever the correct follow the terminology is there, because we greatly appreciate it. And lastly, if you want anything Unite Mics in your life, follow on Twitter at Unite Mics. That being said, on behalf of David and IX Gaming and Unite for Ukraine, I'm doobsnax, and thank you for watching Late Night Unite. We'll catch you next week.